Always interested to come to a table and then
And silence.
silent. You know?
So where are all the bodies buried in season 2?
My backyard at home.
Tell us everything, so tell us everything.
Yes, tell us everything. Spoilers, right? And it's so hard, I was saying, like these things, because the whole time you're editing your own thoughts as they're coming out before they've even come out of your
It's
mouth.
the internet, you don't have to edit anything.
Right, exactly, yeah. No one reads that. How much have they told you? Yeah, nice try.
Everything.
Everything. Okay, good, so I can speak freely. Yeah, it's funny this, actually. Luckily, my character, even though he's very different, does exist in the novels. He's a little older than I am. But it's nothing like it, so I can't tell you much. No, I played Dr. Felix Babineau, who's a neurosurgeon, a brain surgeon, who's given the rather impossible task of bringing Brady back from the dead after his skull was caved in, and then goes on to sort of maybe experiment a little. There we go.
Now I'm intrigued.
Yeah.
Sounds like rough justice.
Yeah, right. It's no, but it's interesting because I think this show, unlike a lot of Stephen King's work, sometimes go into the supernatural and certain areas about what we know and what we don't know. And this, I think, the great thing with someone like Jack Bender, who's all about character, was how do we keep this grounded and how do we keep this real? Sure, it has maybe more elements of, I don't want to say the supernatural, but there are certain things that may be leaning a bit more into Stephen King than there were in the first season or the first novel. But it's still very much character driven, and you got Brendan Gleeson at the helm, and there's no one better for that.
So what did I'm assuming you watched the first season before you went to the second. How did that kind of play into or help you figure out how you fit into this cast?
Well, I haven't decided to do, after many people coming and asking to do another TV show, since I did a show Boardwalk Empire, and if I hadn't seen the first season, spoke to Jack Bender and seen David E. Kelly and Dennis Lane and Brendan Gleeson and Harry Terry, all that, I wouldn't have done it, because it's always quite a hard act to follow when you've done something like that. But then I watched the first season, I was so taken, it was so brilliant. And, it's not what I was expecting. I think it was, it was sort of beautiful, it was profound, it was cool. And then Jack called me up and said, hey, would you come do this? And he sort of explained the character to me. And I was laughing because I was like, and then I went and shot it, and it was nothing that he explained. It was a completely different character. It was, as the season went, I was like, this isn't what we talked about. Well, I guess I'm surprised, so hopefully the audience will be too. We'll see.
So obviously in the first season, some of the big shocking moments are just like the big body counts and just like the gruesomeness.
Yeah.
Are we going to have that level of gruesome in season 2?
It might be a little more contained, but it's a lot playing on ourselves, and I think, which is always the struggle: what's right, what's wrong. There'll definitely be a body count. How much can I say here? There'll be some, but it's it's looking back, also how certain things affect us, how do we get over them, how do we persevere. My character very much about if something can be helpful to the masses, if you can save millions, is it worth sacrificing the few type thing, which I think is an ethical question, and I think a lot of doctors, it's that whole thing of if someone's lying on a bed and you find out that they're a serial killer, do you save their life? It's like, well, if you're a doctor, you take the oath, and it means that you do what you can to save anyone, be it a mass murderer, serial killer, pedophiles. In a sense, you've got to sort of block that out. You've just got to do your job. And then, but if you're meant to do that, then like how much can you parlay that into? Well, if I'm saving that guy's life, someone who killed loads of people, then if I'm to save millions of lives at the detriment of X, Y, Z, why is that not my duty to, persevere, I guess.
I take it Hodges, though, is not going to be super excited about
Also
this.
happy. Not a happy guy in it. Yeah,
Well,
Brendan's so good.
I was going to say, actually, wouldn't he be more excited? Because at the end of season 1, he wants him to wake up so that he can kill him.
Yeah, there's. I know that's the thing. Then it goes a little sideways, and he's not as happy.
Going along that oath question, because obviously, yes, you should take, like that, the patient should be all that matters, but it sounds like he kind of takes liberties.
Yeah.
Is that partly because of who this person is?
Well, I also have a wife who might be compared to Lady Macbeth. She's working for a pharmaceutical company, and they sort of partner up and push the envelope a little and maybe take a few liberties within the profession, which leads to some pretty exciting stuff. But by the way, it's a good. I always think it's a good question. Though one can ask themselves, like I said, as long as it's sort of staying in the realms of reality, which I think it always was, especially within the character. So who knows?
Did you get to talk to Stephen King about your character?
I didn't. I know. But by the way, I love that he's such a fan of the show because I know he's very vocal about things he doesn't like. So that's always cool. Exactly. But that's really cool that he's been. He was very taken. He and Jack, I think, are very close, and I think he would speak up if he wasn't happy. And I know he was seeing all the scripts and he was seeing where they were going with it. And if you've got his support, then you're onto something. Fingers crossed, people feel the same way because it's really exciting. It goes somewhere great, and you got to get the word out there because how it's pretty hard to watch the Audience Network. When I asked them, have you seen it? I was like, I don't know how to watch it. So we got to figure out as many people as possible watching it so you can get more of a life. So that's good.
Did that feel any different? Because like you mentioned, you were coming from HBO and bigger network. Did it feel different, or did it feel pretty much the same?
It's interesting because I think the pedigree of the show was quite similar in the sense. Well, when you've got David E. Kelly and you've got Dennis Lehane, who actually worked on Boardwalk with me for a bit, and Jack, and great actors like Brendan and Harry, who I knew a bit before it, and everyone else. It's I think it's interesting. I hadn't really thought about doing something, and it took a little persuading, but Jack was really good at it. It's such a different. I mean, and also one's present, one's period, one's and actually, I kind of like if I was to go back to a show, I was quite happy that I was doing something present day and something very different. So now I would feel more confident going back and doing something period again, and a bit more quirky. I quite like characters, and this maybe was. Of course, he's a character, but it's still playing a little bit more oneself, which I'm not massively keen on doing, but it was fun. So.
Well, this kind of ethically ambiguous doctor figure is, not uncommon in TV shows and literature.
Yeah.
Was there any portrayal that kind of you remember that you drew inspiration from, or?
Frankenstein. No, I'm joking. No, I sort of looked at it as a doctor. I think anyone who's really gifted and good at what they do, obviously has ambition and wants to push the boundaries and take it as far as they possibly can. I think that's in any single profession. I think we all feel the same way. And in the medical profession, if you were given the opportunity to take your medicine or your craft, whatever it is, further, then I'd jump on it. So I'd be unethical as a doctor. Kill everybody.